Well, here it is, probably the coolest RC kit ever made. This is the brand new Team Associated RC10 four-wheel drive, a 1-ton scale electric competition race buggy. And the coolest thing about this is it's never been released. Even though the original RC10 came out about 40 years ago, I think 1985, somewhere about there. They never released this car, which is a four-wheel drive version of that original race buggy, raced by Jay Halsey in 1985. That one won the two-wheel drive world championships. They actually made a prototype four-wheel drive version of that, which he raced in the four-wheel drive class, and I believe it came second. But this was never released to the public. That was a prototype. I think they raced it for a year or two. Never was available for purchase until now. So this is pretty crazy. Here in 2025, you can buy this car, and I picked one of these up. Super excited about taking a look at this because this is probably the coolest kit I've ever seen. And so we're going to see what's inside the box. Here's a look at the front of it. You can see the 61st anniversary of Team Associated. Not really sure how long that was before they made RC cars, but a little verbiage here. Here's what it looks like. Belt drive, two-wheel drive, converted into four-wheel drive, but they made some modern improvements, so we'll take a look at that. White plastics for all the stuff, which is vintage looking, but you can use a modern brushless motor as well. CVAs, updated slipper. Here's what the front end looks like. It looks like it has hex as well to take modern B74.2 wheels. So that's pretty cool. On the back of the box, here's what it looks like. Does take a shorty pack, so it is a true race buggy. They intend this to be raced in vintage classes, so we'll have to see if that it actually drives. Comes with wheels and tires, spiked, old school looking tires. Shocks are still old school looking, but all the front end parts are based off the B74 series of their modern day race buggies, so that's pretty interesting. Ball disc front and rear. You can see, I guess, kind of the long arm for a vintage vehicle. Arms in the front, suspension geometry, all that kind of stuff. So I believe it is 3-gear, stealth transmissions front and back. There's what the back end looks like. It looks like a carbon fiber transmission brace. So pretty interesting. Bulkhead stiffeners, comes with the body, and then a little bit of a history talking about this car as well as some prototype photos. So yeah, let's take a look at what comes inside the box. I have not looked at this. This is kind of an old school retro unboxing that we don't generally do nowadays, but it is nice to keep with that theme. So sealed factory stickers all the way around, and here comes what comes in the box. So first off, the wheels look pretty modern day. I'm not sure if the rears are pin drive or hex drive, so we'll have to see. Here are the tires, 4-wheel nuts. Oh, it is pin drive in the rear and hex up front. Looks like maybe these are some parts for the, I don't know if it's the body, the front little hinge pin brace there. Wheel nuts, that's that bag. Some shims, presumably for the transmission, I would guess. Here's what it looks like. So 2 transmissions, both of them are 3-gear. Here's a spur gear, modern looking spur gear, dual plates, a lot of idler gear, so we'll have to see how that works. The out drives. Here's the motor plate. So it is going to be a rear motor. Ball differential parts, 2 ball discs. These slipper pads look like the modern day low coefficient friction pads. There are the slipper pads. So yeah, kind of a combo of old and new. Slipper spring balls for the ball diffs. Kind of vintage and new all at the same time. So that's pretty interesting. So I've never actually had an RC10. I apologize if I get stuff wrong. These look like probably rear arms. More hinge pins, the CVAs. Rear hubs are, pretty basic looking, but the plastics feel kind of stiff. Yeah, kind of modern day looking plastics, but they come in this vintage looking white. I'm not sure what these are. So maybe hinge pin blocks. Here it looks like the battery tray. It's a modern style battery tab, so they will work with shorties. That's what you'll need to race this thing. I guess these are probably the carbon fiber stiffeners. Hollow tubes, I know what this is. Maybe chassis braces, not totally sure, sorry. I believe everything on this is going to be SAE, so yeah, old school Associated cars were SAE up through the B44. This looks like maybe the kick-up plate, body posts, front probably steering arms, some spacers, ball studs. So here's a nice little fiberglass shock tower, it looks like. Front arms, I'm guessing. These are going to be the front steering blocks, modern day hexes with the B74 adjustable axle heights there on the front end. Looks like metal shielded bearings throughout, modern day ball studs, and E-clips. Yeah, so this is, I guess, is going to have E-clips for all the hinge pins. That's more of a vintage thing, but you got modern day ball cups, it looks like, modern day turnbuckles. Here's the body, which is going to be a RC10 looking body. You will have to paint yourself. Here's bag D, looks like a rear camber link, rear shock tower looking thing. Tons of adjustments, so that's pretty interesting. I've never assembled one of these RC10s, so a lot of this is going to be pretty interesting to see how these cars have evolved through the years. Here's the fiberglass shock tower, some kind of carbon part here. Not sure what that is, maybe the stiffener. Yeah, and there's the belt. So single belt, I believe, connecting the rear and the front together. Shock fluid, 50 weight probably up front, 35 weight in the rear. These are the shock caps. Don't look like they have bleeder screws, so kind of old school style. Pretty old school style springs as well. All the shock piston parts, shock cups. Yeah, this is going to be the shock bag. And the beautiful chassis, let's take a look at that. Yeah, quite flexible compared to modern day standards, but bathtub style body, nicely engraved RC10 four-wheel drive. This looks like the rear end, I would assume, rear motor, rear protector for the motor in the back. So yeah, beautiful gold looking color. More parts, looks like servo horns, maybe servo blocks, and then maybe a drag link connector right there. Some sort of tool, so you do get some old school looks like SAE screws, so very vintage indeed. Here's the manual. What else is there in the box? Antenna tube, again old school 3M sticker, double-sided tape, and then all your decals. So yeah, window mask for the body, and then some stickers. So yeah, kind of cool looking. There's a quick look in the box. Parts I'm going to be using, electronics wise, I'm going to be using my Gen 6 Redline 2.0 Shorty Pack, 6,000 milliamp hour, excuse me. Hobbywing XR10, just stock. Speed control, I'm going to be using this guy, the Savax 1267 SG servo. So I believe this is probably like the best budget servo out there because it's very durable. I've used probably like 6 or 7 of these over the last 7 years or so. Durable, fairly fast, fairly torquey, high voltage capable, and then not that expensive, which is kind of the best thing for those of you that are racing on a budget. You can see the specs there. It looks like 0.095 seconds per 60 degrees, and the torque 277 ounce-inches or 20 kilograms if you're running at 7.4 volts, which is what I will do. Motor-wise, I'm not too sure yet. I'm thinking probably 13.5. I'll have to see what this actually supports, if you can go up to a 13.5 brushless, but that's what they race nowadays, typically in four-wheel drive stock class, and so I think that will probably work pretty well for this. So yeah, there's a quick look at what you get inside the Team Associated RC10 four-wheel drive. Amazing buggy. I think these might even be sold out today. I'll have links in the description below where you can check these out and see if they're still available. But this is a hot kit. This is going to be super fun to build and super fun to drive as well. I'm really curious to see how it performs. So hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe buttons. Definitely subscribe if you can. That does help out the channel. I will be building this and running it on dirt, maybe even a little carpet to see how it performs. But that's the best way to get notified and the best way to support this channel. Thanks for watching. Look for more videos soon.